Mr. Goetz, I'd like to go back to the screenshot, still 48A, of the first shot, and ask you what you did based on this shot in your 57F. Do you need them both again?
Well, this 57F represents my reenactment, reconstruction on the hillside. It shows the position of the two lasers. Also shows the position of our stand-in for Mr. Boyd.
All right. Whose laser is this?
That is the a silver laser that represents Officer Sandy's position, and that has the orangish-red dot.
Whose laser is this?
That would be Officer Perez's position, and that is a green dot.
What did you review to make sure that your reenactment was consistent with the evidence, or that it was all supported by the evidence?
I did review the autopsy report and the autopsy photographs, the officers' interviews, the police department's report.
Did you read Mr. Sandy's statement about what happened when he shot, or right before he shot?
Yes, Officer Sandy's interview I did read.
Yes, and what did you learn in that was helpful for your reconstruction?
Officer Sandy does state that Mr. Boyd initiates a turn to his left, and that's when he initiated his firing of the 3 rounds.
I'm going to show you 57G. What's being shown here? Is it hard for you to view there?
It's definitely different than looking at the photograph. It's hard to pick out some of the detail.
Shall I walk it up to you? Would that be easier? And then we can show the jury?
Yes, please.
Okay. May I approach her? Yeah. All right. Tell us what's significant, or what's happening in this photo.
This is the tripod with the silver laser in the forefront represents Officer Sandy's firearm. Our stand-in is for Mr. Boyd, and on the left sleeve I placed some orange tape in the approximate location of the perforating wound to the left arm.
How did you know there was a perforating wound to the left arm right there?
From the autopsy and autopsy photos.
Is this green dot, tell me what that's representing.
The green dot is the laser that was placed in Officer Perez's position. Both lasers were pointed at center mass of Mr. Boyd as a initiating point, and they were Officer Perez's laser was continued to be aimed at the center mass of Mr. Boyd.
Why did you use center mass as a place to focus the lasers?
In the interviews that the officers give, they designate that they're using Mr. Boyd's center mass as their aiming target while they're covering him.
Show you 57H. What are we looking at here?
This is a photograph, again, of our stand-in for Mr. Boyd. You'll see the orange tape on his left arm. I don't know how well it would show up on the projector, but on the front lower right, there's a green dot from the laser.
Is it right here?
Yes.
All right.
And that represents Officer Perez's aiming his rifle at the center mass of Mr. Boyd, because at this point Mr. Boyd is rotated to his left. So he's not squared off to Officer Perez. He's now more in profile.
Can you maybe stand up? Would it be all right, Your Honor, if he stands up and shows us the movement and then where each bullet goes, what you're showing in these photographs?
That's fine.
Would you like to come down here, Mr. Goetz? Maybe show the jury. And you can use me, I guess. Yes. And show the trajectory of this first shot.
Yes.
So, turning.
Officer Sandys is routed this position, and he has center mass available to aim at. However, when Mr. Boyd rotates to the left now, you see he goes into more profile. However, the first round strikes the clothing on the left chest, the bag that's tucked in here, held by the strap, and then perforates the arm and strikes the rock. So Mr. Boyd can only rotate so much before Officer Sandy fires, because if he rotates too much, he can't hit the left chest and the left arm. So as the rotation starts, the first shot strikes the left chest, left arm, and then the rock. And then he continues moving to the left.
All right. Yes, thank you. Well, and maybe we have you stay up here if it's all right, Your Honor. Let's talk about the. Well, and let me ask you this first. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Have a seat. Did you observe damage to the clothing consistent with what you just showed us? You determined to be the trajectory of the bullet.
Yes, ma'am. Even in the photographs taken by the police department, there's damage to the clothing on the left chest. There's damage to the clothing on the left arm, and of course there's the marks on the rock.
I'm going to show you 57R, and it's hard to see because of the quality, and Jerry will have these photographs, but can you point to generally, Your Honor, would you mind switching it to witness? The area of the left chest that you're referring to. Can you see it now?
I do.
All right.
Do I place my finger on the screen?
Yes, and maybe circle the area that you're talking about.
On the left front chest in this area, there is damage to the fabric in that left chest area, and it also lines up to damage in the left sleeve that lines up with the autopsy photos of the wounds.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So on the autopsy photo, is there damage to the left chest consistent with your trajectory opinion?
There is damage there that's been stapled shut, and
Objection, Your Honor, the lack of foundation. For him to say that, can we approach? Okay, then we gotta go approach.
And how about the arm? Are the injuries consistent?
yes, the arm definitely has the perforating gunshot wound in the arm and in the clothing. So the left chest, left arm, and that bag all line up with damage caused by a bullet that initially passed through at least the clothing of the right arm before striking the left chest, bag, left arm, and then the large rock.
I'll show you 57S. It's very dark to see, huh? Let me approach and hand it to you and then see if that helps you while I take it over to the podium. It should be dark.
It is pretty dark.
Are you able to see the damage that you photographed?
You can't see it in this type of this type of projection, but there is damage to the fabric of the left chest and the perforating hole through the left sleeve.
Right. And was that shown consistently in 57U?
Again, in the projection, it's very difficult to see, but there is damage in that same area.
Does 57V help show the trajectory?
Do I erase this circle?
Oh, yes. You can just click twice on the left bottom side of the screen.
Lower left, click
Yep.
twice.
Just making marks here. There we go.
Okay. Yes, this is the innermost garment, the short sleeve white shirt. And as I took the photograph, I just had another individual hold the orange trajectory rod showing the general location and relationship between the damage on the left side of the chest and the damage on the right side of the clothing. And of course the holes through the left arm.
X. What are we looking at in this photograph?
This is the outermost garment, and there's multiple areas of damage in the chest area, but certainly in the left chest area and in the left sleeve, in addition to bullet impact sites on the right sleeve of that garment.
All right, we will get there. But this is just talking about the first shot at this point.
Objection leading.
All right, let's now get to the second shot. Show you what's been admitted as 48B. Which is this? Is that the still shot that you took of the second shot? Still photo that you took from the video of the second shot.
It appears to be,
Shall I bring it closer to you?
yes. Oh, I misinterpreted. Yes, ma'am. That was not the reenactment. That was the actual video.
Yes. Yes. All right.
And yes, that would be consistent with the second shot position.
Did you also create that scene in your reenactment?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. See where I put them. To show you 57L. And tell us what we're watching here in the reenactment.
This is a photograph I took during my reenactment reconstruction. It shows both lasers. It shows our stand-in for Mr. Boyd. It shows the approximate location of a gunshot wound to his right arm.
All right,
with
now
some
he's a little
orange
more
tape.
hunched over. Was it harder for him to fall?
Well, this is still the rotation to his left.
All right. Let me ask you this. There was mention earlier, how can you tell that the first shot didn't cause the turn?
Cause the
turn. So you testified earlier that he started to turn and then there was a shot. How, in your reconstruction, did you determine whether or not the shot, in fact, caused the turn?
Your Honor, I think that's beyond the scope of what he's been recognized as an expert to do. It's a trajectory, it's not whether or not the movement of the human being.
It's included within that, Your Honor. So now I'd like to tell you, let's look at 57M, Council, and tell us what we're looking at in 57M based on the second shot.
Yes, ma'am. This is the silver laser representing Officer Sandy's position. The right arm of our stand-in for Mr. Boyd now has some orange tape to indicate the damage to his right arm and the impact site on his right arm.
For the, is that the second shot?
Yes, ma'am. That's the second shot.
Okay. I'd like to show you 57N. What is that showing us?
Again, this is a photograph that I took at the reenactment, and on this photograph there are the two laser dots, the red one representing Officer Sandy and the green one representing Officer Perez. I can't visualize them on this screen.
A little dark there. During your reconstruction, though, does the laser point to the area on Mr. Boyd's clothing where there was bullet defects?
Yes, it does.
And are those bullet defects on the clothing consistent with the injuries determined by the Office of the Medical Investigator?
Yes, there's damage to the right sleeve and the area of the injury to the right arm.
All right. I'll show you States 48C. Is that the third shot? Actually, before I do that, I'm going to have you, if you wouldn't mind, if it's okay with the court, come down and show the trajectory of the second shot from Mr. Sandy to Mr. Boyd.
Again, relative position, and to review the left shot, which is the first shot, the bullet passes through the fabric of the right arm, the fabric of the left chest, the bag, and then perforates the left arm, hits the rock. The second shot is going to, again, hit the right arm. This time it is the one that hits the bone and causes the damage. And then there's fabric damage to the right chest, including a fragment of the bullet. Did I say right chest? Right chest, including a fragment of the bullet that hit the right arm. And this continues on and then strikes the rock.
Thank you. I'd like to show you States Exhibit 48D. Is this the third shot from Mr. Sandy? D is in dog.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean C. 48C.
Yes.
Based on your review of the evidence at the scene, where did you determine this shot to go?
The second shot?
The third shot.
The third shot. The third shot, again, perforates at least the fabric on the right sleeve of the outer sweatshirt, and then continues on and strikes the rock. There's some damage to the right arm that might be associated with that third shot. I can't tell. but there is damage to the fabric that is consistent with that third shot, and there's an impact on the rock that's consistent with that third shot, and its spacing is a little different than the first two.
All right, I'm going to show you 57Z1. Does that help you explain anything about the third shot?
Yes, ma'am. These scales, these L-shaped scales, are placed next to what's referred to as bullet entry points. In other words, when the bullet hit that garment, it left what's referred to as a bullet wipe. This is vaporized material from the bullet that gets wiped off on the clothing. And there's 3 of those on the right sleeve, 1 at each of those L-shaped scales.
1, 2, and 3?
Correct. And you'll see the 2 are...
I'm just trying to understand.
Yes. I don't know if they're numbered as such, but there are 3. And I have glare on the one, that's why.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. And I'm going to show you now 57B, which is the rock. Is that, well, what is 57B?
57B is that large rock where all 3 of Officer Sandy's projectiles eventually strike. And there are 2 fairly close together on the one side, and then there's one that's spaced a little differently. And that would represent the 3 shots, 2 that strike Mr. Boyd in the arms and clothing of the chest, and the 3rd one that only strikes the right arm and or clothing.
And when you first looked at this scene, did you believe that Mr. Sandy's shot had impacted clothing of Mr. Boyd on the right sleeve, the 3rd shot?
When I first did the reenactment on the side of the mountain, it was my opinion that the 3rd shot missed Mr. Boyd completely and struck the rock. It was later pointed out to me the bullet impact site on the right sleeve, and there were 3 of them. And since there were 3 rounds fired, all 3 of those bullets initially hit the right sleeve. So the 3rd one could not have missed completely. It had to have hit at least the right sleeve of Mr. Boyd.
I'd like to show you 48D, which is another still shot from the video. What are we looking at in 48D? And if you want, I can bring it to you if it's easier to see.
I can see it. This represents the first shot of Officer Perez.
All right. How can you tell?
There is a muzzle flare on his weapon.
Can you circle that?
If I can draw a square and a circle. Whoops. That didn't work too good. Hold on. Well, somewhere at the bottom of that U is the muzzle of the weapon, and you do see like a triangular shaped flame. You also see a linear deposit of material that the light is picking up. You're not actually seeing the bullet travel through the air, but you're seeing the disturbance of the bullet as it travels through the air. And with the light hitting it just right, you actually see what is almost a straight line, and that actually represents the trajectory that the bullet traveled along.
Now, for the first 3 shots that we just discussed from Mr. Pettis, during that time, I'm sorry, from Mr. Sandy, had Mr. Pettis fired at all?
He has not.
When is the first time that Mr. Pettis fired?
It is after the 3rd shot of Officer Sandy.
Is it possible to draw a line from where you see the muzzle flare to where you believe that trajectory goes?
I drew one parallel to the white line.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and clear that. Did you recreate that scene in the reconstruction? I'll show you State's Exhibit 57P.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us what's going on in 57P?
Well, both tripods are present. The one at the bottom left of the screen is the laser representing Officer Perez's firearm. And, of course, our stand-in for Mr. Boyd, he has almost completed his turn to the left, has received the first 3 gunshots. He is now leaning forward and eventually will go to the ground in a prone position. On the back of the shirt of our stand-in for Mr. Boyd, again, I put some orange tape representing the rough direction of the shot that entered his back and ended up in his left shoulder to show the passage of the projectile through his body.
57Q, is that a closer view of that, or what are we seeing there?
Yes, ma'am. Again, our stand-in has this orange tape across his body. It was difficult for me to have him fall on the ground because it's a rocky terrain and he would have been injured. So he was trying to do his best imitating this leaning over and falling onto his stomach.
Right. Did the trajectory that you determined this bullet to travel based on your reconstruction, was that consistent with the physical evidence, including the clothing found at the scene? And I'll show you 57Y.
Yes, ma'am. On all the layers of clothing, there are bullet marks on the lower back. The sweatshirt has an actual bullet wipe showing that it's the outermost garment.
Is this the Gap sweatshirt that we saw at the front of earlier?
Yes, this is the
Okay.
Gap long sleeve hooded sweatshirt. It's the outermost garment. Excuse me. The bullet would have entered there, went through all 5 layers, entered Mr. Boyd's body, and then continued through his body until it comes to its final resting place in the left shoulder.
Did you compare this with the entrance wound to the back from the Office of the Medical Investigator?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the autopsy photograph of the back that the jury, or that we'll talk to the pathologist about later, but is that consistent with your reconstruction of this 3rd bullet trajectory?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened, let's look at the next still shot. State's Exhibit 48E. Does Mr. Pettis's second shot strike Mr. Boyd?
The first shot is the most likely shot to strike Mr. Boyd in the back.
Okay.
The second shot, Mr. Boyd has fallen forward more, and if the gun has risen at all from recoil of the first shot, now those 2 paths are divergent. They certainly are overlapping at the time of the first shot. That is the streak that you see showing the bullet path and the trajectory through Mr. Boyd. But then Mr. Boyd's going down and the rifle appears to be either staying still or perhaps very small recoil. So it's unlikely that the second shot penetrates Mr. Boyd, and that would be the case with the third shot also.
All right, and I'll show you 48F. Is that the still shot of the third, is that the photo capture of the third shot from Mr. Pettis?
Yes, as you can see, his upper body now isn't even in view. The light gray sweatshirt indicating that his upper body again is closer to the ground. And again, the third shot would have physically went over top of Mr. Boyd and not struck him.
Now, there's a person on 57J holding a tablet up high. I don't know if you can see it. It's sort of hard to see, but what's going on there in 57J?
This is with Officer Perez's laser aimed at body mass, center mass of Mr. Boyd, and then having our stand-in for Mr. Boyd move away but keep the laser in its same position. The bullet or the laser dot actually hits that white tablet, indicating that if the bullet would have went along that track and didn't hit any targets, it would be at that height above the ground when it passed that location. And that is not in line with the rock with the 3 strikes on it.
That's the line from Mr. Pettis' rifle, is that right?
Direction leading.
Is that the line from Mr. Pettis' rifle?
Correct.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you know what? Let me show you 57K.
Yeah, I'm going to object to both of them across, asking the direct questions.
Can you, is that a closer view of what we just looked at in 57J?
It is.
Can you circle the white tablet there? And after your review of the evidence in this case, is there, well, what was the first, is there any doubt in your mind that Mr. Boyd had initiated a turn when Mr. Sandy shot?
Objection, that's beyond the scope of what he's been asked to testify to, Your Honor. It's a trajectory.
And he's
These bullets.
well, in order to find the trajectory, you need to figure out when the turn was initiated. Okay. To determine the first shot, let me ask you this. Had Mr. Boyd started to turn left when Mr. Sandy took his first shot?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Yes, the video shows Mr. Boyd's head first going to the left, then his shoulders and his upper body. So he does initiate a turn to his left before the very first shot.
May I have a moment, Your Honor? Your Honor, we passed the witness.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Good morning again.
Good morning.
Just give me 1 second, Mr. Goetz. By the way, you spell your name G-O-E-T-Z?
Correct.
O-E-T-Z. Okay. Mr. Goetz, in a different hearing, you've previously testified in this case, haven't you?
I have.
That was about a year ago, right?
Correct.
And you were under oath then, right?
I was.
The same way you are today, right?
Correct.
And you understand what the words under oath mean, right?
Yes, I do.
Means you're going to tell the truth, correct?
Correct.
When you testified a year ago, you were also testifying as an expert, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you were giving an opinion when you were under oath last year, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
And that opinion was based on your reconstruction using all the available evidence, correct?
Yes, sir.
That included, when you gave your opinion a year ago, it was based upon laboratory results, right?
Yes, sir.
Autopsy results, correct?
Correct.
Photographs,
Yes, sir.
crime scene diagrams,
Correct.
witness observations,
Yes, sir.
witness statements,
Yes.
video,
Correct.
audio,
Certainly.
and as you said, portions of the police report, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You didn't lack any access to any of the evidence, did you? When you gave your initial opinion, it was based on a reconstruction you did, right?
Correct.
A year ago you did this, and you didn't lack any evidence when you gave that opinion, right? That you needed to form that opinion, did you?
Yes, I don't believe I was lacking any evidence.
Okay. So in other words, you had all the evidence necessary for you to give the opinion you did a year ago, just like you have today, right?
Correct.
Okay. Because you would not have given an opinion if you didn't have access to all the evidence, correct? That you needed to give the opinion with, right?
Yeah, I would hope that I wouldn't. Correct. Yes, sir.
More specifically, a year ago, you, under oath, gave expert opinion on which officers fired which shots, correct? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you did that based on you going out, as we've just seen some pictures of, to the scene on June 9th, 2015, to the scene, and you did your reconstruction. You did that based on that, right?
Correct.
And you testified under oath to the court what the results of where the bullets all went, right?
Yes, sir.
And there were 6 bullets that you analyzed, right?
Well, 6 trajectories.
6 trajectories that you looked at, right?
Correct.
And you were wrong on one of them the way you testified a year ago under oath, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you gave testimony as an expert under oath a year ago involving this same reconstruction, which was in fact not true. Isn't that right?
I wouldn't use the word not true. Wasn't
We're going to
complete.
hedge a little bit?
Wasn't completely accurate.
Oh. You expected the court to rely on that testimony, didn't you?
I did, sir.
And if they had relied on it, then they would be wrong, right?
Again, I believe it's a degree of lying.
It's just kind of, well, I was mostly right. Is that the way you're looking at it, sir?
I was.
5 out of 6.
Well, I believe it was more accurate than 5 out of 6.
Well, let me ask you this. You think today that one of the bullets didn't go the exact same way that you described it to the first court, right? You believe today that one of the 6 bullets didn't exactly travel the same way you said it traveled a year ago under oath, right?
Well, the bullet traveled the same way an additional object, it passed through.
Okay, your trajectory was wrong on one of the bullets. That's fair to say, right?
Well, the trajectory is right. I didn't have the arm in the trajectory.
I see. So you didn't have the body the right way?
Correct.
I see. Okay. So today you oh, and by the way, do you remember when I asked you back then if you were 100% sure of what you testified to? 100%, not 99, but I asked you 100%. And what was your answer when I asked you if you were 100% sure on the first 3 bullets?
I said I was.
Sure, it's the first question I asked him, and it would be specifically page 106 of the transcript. The question is line 10.
I said I was 100% certain on the first 3 shots.
Okay, so and one of the first shot, the shot that you know now you were wrong about was one of those first 3, right?
It was the very first one.
Yeah. So basically, when you say under oath that you're sure of something, it should be looked at kind of with a little bit of a jaundiced eye, right? We shouldn't really believe when you say you're absolutely sure of something that you're really absolutely sure, right?
As I would expect with anyone, correct, yes.
Okay, so So, in other words, when you say something like how sure you are, that is not something this jury should give any credit to, right?
Well, I would hope they would, yes.
Even though they know that you've already testified in the same case that you're 100% sure, but yet you are now, you admit that you were 100% wrong on one of those bullets, right?
And again, I wasn't 100% wrong. I missed one of the intermediate targets.
Okay. All right. You get paid a lot of money to do this, right?
Well, I paid money, yes, sir.
And you know now that you were wrong that first time, right?
Partially wrong, yes, it was, yes.
Did you give a refund to the state for that?
I did not, sir.
Well, so they're paying for testimony that isn't even accurate in this case. Is that right?
That was not 100% accurate, correct.
Okay. So do you think you should have a standard of being 100% accurate when you testify?
Absolutely.
But we know that that's not a standard you keep, right?
I did not at that hearing, correct.
Okay. Did you expect the court to rely on your testimony back then?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Just as you do today, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Your sworn testimony has now changed.
Yes, it has.
You were incorrect when you testified that the third shot missed completely, right?
That is correct.
That's kind of important, right? When your only job really is to come into court and say what the bullet hit as it went, right? That's kind of important to make sure that you get that right for each bullet, right?
Well, absolutely. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And you didn't get it right, did you, on the third shot?
No, I missed the intermediate target.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, how did you discover that you missed the intermediate target? Is it because you looked at somebody else's report?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's what you based the fact that you were wrong on, was not something you actually did, but what somebody else did.
Yes, sir. Then I actually went back and looked at the photographs.
The photographs.
Yes.
Did you go back and actually re-examine the physical evidence?
No, I was not given that opportunity.
Did you ask, sir?
To
Go back out and re-examine the evidence because you now know that you're wrong on the first time. Did you ask to go back out and say, let me take another look at all this evidence because clearly I was wrong 1 out of 6 times? Did you ask to go back out and do that?
I do not believe I did. No, sir.
Wouldn't that be kind of important, sir? If you know you've been wrong the first time?
I had photographs of the evidence that certainly showed my error.
Right, you've shown a lot of photographs, but we're talking about holes in clothes, right?
Correct.
Wouldn't it be better for you to actually go out and inspect the clothes again to make sure that when you come up here and you swear under oath that what you're about to say is true, that it is an opinion that anybody could rely on? Isn't it important to go back and look at the clothing?
I don't think it was necessary, but it certainly would be good.
It's not necessary for your standard of work, is that correct?
Well, it wasn't necessary for me to see my error.
It wasn't, okay. So, I have a couple of questions. Who did you employ with you to do this reconstruction? I saw a gentleman up there on the hill in some of these pictures. Who was that? Does that person work for you?
No.
Oh, you didn't bring someone out like a staffer or something to go ahead and take those pictures with?
I did not.
Well, who was that person?
I know his name was Chris, and he worked at the law firm with Mr. Holmes.
And Mr. Holmes worked with Ms. McGinn?
That correct, same law firm. Yes, ma'am.
So
yes,
are
sir.
you saying that the person up on the mountain that you're taking pictures of is part of the prosecution team?
I wasn't aware that this Chris individual was part of the prosecution team. I knew he worked at that law firm.
Is it standard for you to, when you do reconstructions, to have the prosecution eminently involved in handling stuff as you do your reconstruction? Is that part of your process?
If I was retained by the prosecution and I needed someone to physically stand in, I would ask for them to provide the person.
Is it because you don't want to spend the money on actually having someone help you with this stuff? You'd rather have the prosecution people helping you?
No, I always ask for someone local of the same approximate physical shape.
I see. So 57Y, Your Honor, that's in evidence, right?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me, who is the lady in this picture?
This is another individual who works for that law firm.
In fact, she's sitting in the room right now.
Yes.
Do you understand her to be the paralegal of Miss McGinn?
I don't know her official title, but she certainly works for the law firm. Yes.
Do you know her name?
Martha.
Martha Hardman?
Yes.
Okay. Is this usual for you to have people that are the paralegals of the prosecutor actually holding what looks like a red long straw or something like that with the blue glove on and with a mask on? Is that something you do on a normal basis with the prosecution?
Well, if I need someone to physically be there and do things, I ask them to provide them, certainly.
I see. Okay. So then, let's actually take a look at, you testified when actually during voir dire that you've never really fired a long rifle or a rifle since approximately 1969. Isn't that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Now, what is the purpose of you holding your hands like that in 57D?
To approximate the height above the ground that I would be holding a long rifle.
Okay. Is it to approximate where your hands would be on the rifle?
Oh, not necessarily, no.
Okay, because that's not even close, is it, to the way that Mr. Sandy would be holding his rifle on that mountain, is it?
No, you wouldn't hold it like that.
Because you don't even know how you're supposed to hold that rifle, do you?
Well, I know how to hold an M16, but I'm not familiar with his specific weapon.
Right, and that's because you held one in 1969, right?
And fired it.
And fired it in 1969. Tell me about the optics on that, compared to what Mr. Sandy had on his.
Those were the old open iron sights.
Tell me about the optics on Mr. Sandy's weapon.
Those are the newer electronic optics.
And wouldn't you agree that if actually you were holding Mr. Sandy's firearm in this picture of 57D, that his scope would actually be in his forehead? Look at the picture, sir.
Yes.
If that was actually Mr. Sandy's firearm, the scope would actually be up against his forehead, wouldn't it? Or do you know?
I don't know. I've never held his weapon.
But you're holding your arms there because you say that's important to get an understanding of what the laser is right behind you, right? To approximate the height, right?
Yes, it's to approximate the height, yes, sir.
But we know that you don't even know that that's even close to being right.
Well, it's certainly close.
What's close in your mind when we're talking about a laser beam and a bullet that goes through clothing? What's close? A couple inches? 6 inches? What's close?
As the original aiming point, yes, several inches is close.
That's close enough, huh? So several inches isn't going to make a difference at the end result?
Well, certainly.
Inches, not 12 feet away, as you said, isn't going to make a difference in the end result?
Not if you're aiming at center mass.
Because, you know, when I shot a rifle, tell me if I'm wrong in your experience back in 1969, if I move the rifle 6 inches, then it's going to hit something different, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, all right. So that picture that you have there in 57E are just to show you the detail in which and the specificity that you're doing in this job.
No, it's to show an approximation.
Approximation. And again, when we're looking at 57E, why wouldn't you, if you're doing an approximation, why wouldn't you hold it like what would be more accurate that Mr. Sandy's rifle would be? Why wouldn't you hold it that way than this way?
Again, it's an approximation of the height above the ground the weapon would be. Sir,
your backhand here where you act like the trigger hand that's close to the face, do you see that, sir?
Yes.
The way you have that, that's more, wouldn't your hand be on the barrel, not on the trigger on that rifle by the way you're holding your hands?
I would be holding different parts of the weapon.
But wait, it looks like you have a finger out, your index finger, like that's the trigger finger, right?
Or pointing in the direction of the firearm.
Sir, were you holding that out as your trigger finger, or were you holding that out for some other reason?
I don't recall.
Okay. All right, sir. So if it was your trigger finger, that too would be completely inaccurate, as opposed to where your front arm is. If you were holding that rifle, that's not where the trigger finger would be, would it?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Where would it be? Would it be higher or lower? Do you know?
It would be lower.
It would be lower. So why didn't you do something more accurate if you're going to come in here and testify as an expert?
I didn't have access to a weapon to bring out and use on that hill.
I see. So you now say that you didn't have enough evidence to give a good opinion?
No, I said I didn't have a rifle to bring out and hold on that hill.
So you made it up.
I
An
approximated.
invisible rifle, right?
Correct. I
And this-
approximated the location.
And it's not correct, and we all know that, right?
I don't know that that height is incorrect.
Well, you just agreed with me that your hand wouldn't be up there, right?
My hands aren't correct, but again, the laser is to represent the muzzle height above the ground of the weapon.
I see. So the muzzle height above the ground? How do you know that that laser's accurate if your arms aren't accurate, sir?
Well, the laser is the distance above the ground that I placed it.
So that's up to you then. You start with that. That particular where you start the laser is where you want to start the laser, not based on any fact.
Well, no, it's based on the approximate height of the officer and approximate height of the muzzle of the weapon when it was fired.
Give or take a few inches, right?
Correct.
So give or take a few inches. Again, that muzzle height is just give or take a few inches. That's the best you can do.
Well, certainly, because I don't have the actual individual and the actual weapon.
I see. So would you agree with me that your recreation as far as this part's concerned is not accurate?
No, I would not.
It's approximately within a few inches then, right?
The starting point, yes, sir.
So when we're talking about a few inches, we could talk about a few inches, the difference in hitting a body and not hitting a body, right? That can be a few inches, right?
Oh, less than that even, certainly.
Right. So my understanding is, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that 48B, you say, is the actual second shot, right? Is that correct? I wrote down that's my writing on that, and I put second shot right there.
48, or do you mean 47?
I'm looking at 48B.
Oh, 48.
I'm sorry, Art. But I want to be clear. The exhibit doesn't have second shot on there like I wrote on the left. I was taking notes. But would you agree with me that that's your understanding of what you testified to as when the second shot by Mr. Sandy was taken, right?
Yes, I don't remember the exhibit number, but that appears to be when the second shot was fired.
And your recreation, now I want you to take a good look at that, and specifically I want you to look at Mr. Boyd's stance right there and how he's shaped, okay, how he's looking right now. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now this is your recreation 57L. Now does that arm look like anything that actually happened in 48B? Is that in the same place, sir? Here, I'll do it this way for you. Do you see that now? Take a look at that guy. Now look at this guy. Tell me, is it the same arm angle on Mr. Boyd? Or is it different, sir?
It's different, yes.
But you're admitting then your recreation, your second shot recreation, is different than what actually you're saying is happening in the video, right?
I'm saying that that's when the right arm is struck.
You're saying it's different, though, where he's holding it, right?
In relationship to his body, correct, yes, sir.
Okay. So, again, that's another aspect of your recreation that is just not accurate, right?
Exact location of Mr. Boyd's body,
Yeah.
correct, yes.
Wouldn't the exact location of Mr. Boyd's body be kind of important if you are going to come into a courtroom and testify where bullets entered and exited his body?
Well, I'm not shooting him with a gun in this position. I'm demonstrating where the laser would hit his body and where it would hit that arm as opposed to the left arm.
I see. So, is this supposed to be the same time, this reconstruction, and this same time in the sequence of things?
It's the second shot, yes.
So you're not trying to show anything consistent between the two? Your recreation is not an attempt to show anything consistent between the two?
Well, certainly. It's the second shot that hits the right arm.
So you're saying then that the way he's standing right there, bending over like that, is consistent with this. Is that your testimony today?
consistent to a degree. It's not an exact replica of this position,
And
no.
I notice you like that to a degree. I mean, so basically, you agree with me. Let me see if we can agree on something. That you will not testify. And now, I mean, the first time you testified about being 100% sure, and now we know you were wrong, right?
I was not 100% correct.
So first time you were wrong on one bullet, right? That's fair enough. That's a fair statement from what we've talked about, right? Huh? You were wrong on the trajectory of one bullet, right?
Not the trajectory, but the targets.
Wrong on the target. Okay?
And it actually would be on 2.
Oh, you were wrong on 2 of them.
Correct.
Oh, see, I missed that. So I know the third shot you were wrong on. Was the other one the first one?
Correct.
So wrong on the first bullet, wrong on the third bullet. You were wrong. Okay. But yet, you said that you were 100% right on both those.
I did make that mistake, yes I did.
Okay. Guess you'll never do that again, will you? I mean, are you 100% now?
No, I'm not 100% of anything, sir.
100% no more. Okay. In fact, you'd agree with me, wouldn't you, that, I want to get the wording right, that you have no reasonable degree of scientific certainty as far as what you're saying. Isn't that correct?
Correct. Can't give a percentage or a degree.
I'm going to write that down because I want to make sure I have your testimony correct. So, no reasonable degree of scientific certainty. And so with no degree of scientific certainty, then your testimony is basically worth just that. It's your testimony without any real reliability, isn't that right?
Well, there's a difference between no degree and no reasonable degree, isn't there?
Oh, you're right. So you'd agree with me that there's a reasonable degree.
I can't define reasonable degree.
So are you a scientist in any way, shape, or form? Do you consider yourself a scientist?
I do.
So you understand what I mean when I say no reasonable degree of scientific certainty, right?
Excuse me, Your Honor, objection. It's outside the scope. This is a legal review.
You understand what I mean when there's no reasonable degree of scientific certainty, don't you?
Honestly, I don't know where that falls on the scale of scientific certainty.
So when I asked you the first time I asked you that and you said no, you didn't know what I was talking about? You just answered no? I asked you that, didn't I? And you said no, I can't testify that there's any reasonable degree of scientific certainty to your findings. You said I can't testify that, right?
Oh, whether there's reasonable degree, I can't say that there is reasonable degree as opposed to saying that there is no reasonable degree.
Right. You can't testify that there's a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, can you? Because you've told us that before, right?
Correct. I don't know. I can't say the scale of degree of scientific certainty.
And isn't that something that we want when we come into a courtroom to be able to testify to, of a reasonable degree of scientific certainty when you consider yourself a scientist and you're giving an expert opinion? Isn't that something we would want to be able to say?
If we would define it, certainly. Yes, sir.
And you can't say that about this one, can you?
That I can define it? No, sir.
Okay. So, just to be clear. Oh, by the way, when we had a break, you were handed a yellow sticky from the prosecution. What was on the yellow sticky?
My flight confirmation number.
Fair enough. Are you getting out of town today?
I would like to, yes, sir.
I understand. So, speaking of that, so who paid for you to come out here?
The special prosecutor's office.
I see. And so they paid for your way to get out of here. And how many days have you been here?
I was here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of last week, flew back Friday, flew back yesterday.
So you have been back and forth on 2 airline flights now?
Yes, I have.
So how much, do you have any idea how much those airplane flights cost?
I don't.
Okay. How much have you billed, let's start this way. How much have you billed the state before you actually got here this time? How much have you actually totally billed the state of New Mexico or the special prosecutor's office or whoever for your work?
Over the last 2 years?
Yes.
In total, since April of 2015 to August of 2015, $14,266.
$14,266?
Correct.
And how many days have you actually been out here? Did you say 4?
I was here 4 last week
4 last week and then 1 today, right?
and yesterday.
And yesterday, so a total of 6 days, right?
Correct.
And you're going to charge the state of New Mexico for every day you've been out here too, right?
Yes, sir.
And how much is that going to be?
I don't know. I'd have to
Well,
add it up.
what do you charge per day?
I charge a maximum of 10 hours in a day, and my rate is $195 an hour.
So you're going to charge 10 hours for each one of those days, right?
Not each one of those days, no.
8 hours a day?
I'd have to go back and look.
All right. So it would be approximately 95 times 10. So close to $2,000, between $1,500 and $2,000 for each day, right?
Correct.
Okay, and you can do that times another 6 days, right?
I could, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you know if you're coming back a third time to testify in this case?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. And if you did you think your opinion might change a third time?
It would depend what would have been presented to me in that interim time.
Oh, so that's interesting. So your opinion is based only on the evidence you've seen thus far.
Oh, absolutely.
So if there's any other evidence out there that you haven't seen, your opinion would change.
Could change.
Could change. Again, about the trajectory.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
that's your confidence level is, hey, show me something else and I can change my opinion again.
Well, certainly, it has to be.
It's actually misleading. It's not about the trajectory.
I'm just asking. It's cross-examination. So if there's other evidence that's presented to you, or maybe in someone else's report, you might change your mind again.
Well, absolutely.
Okay. So that goes back to how unreliable, basically, your opinion is, right? Because there's no reasonable degree of scientific certainty because it's not based in science, right?
Objection on compounding misleading.
Just a moment, Your Honor. Thanks. You would not be here if you weren't paid, right?
Correct.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, would you like me to proceed now?
Yeah.
Your Honor,
You could switch it to prosecution too.
good morning again, Mr. Goetz,
Mhm.
for a few more minutes. Your work on this case has not been peer-reviewed by any crime scene reconstructionist, has it?
It has not.
Okay. I want to talk to you first about the shot to Mr. Boyd's right arm,
Yes, sir.
the second shot.
Correct.
And as we discussed, you previously testified in another hearing in this matter. And at that time, I believe you characterized that second shot saying that it not only shattered the bone, but caused the bullet to break into fragments, and both the bullet fragments and bone fragments then entered into the clothing. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And it is your testimony today that it was Mr. Sandy's second shot that hits that right arm, correct?
Correct.
Now, you weren't here for the state's opening statement in this case, were you?
I was not.
You didn't come until Tuesday. Did you watch or review the state's opening statement prior to coming here to testify today?
I did not.
So I want to see if you agree or disagree with something that the state said in its opening statement in this case. It's essentially its proffer to the jury of what the evidence would show. If the state told this jury in opening statement in this case that when Mr. Boyd was told to get on the ground by all the officers and they began to yell at him, and Mr. Boyd turned to his left, the first person to shoot was defendant Sandy, who shot 3 times. One went here, across his chest, caught his chest, and went into this arm. As he continued to turn to lay on the ground, the next one, we don't know if it missed or scraped here, but the third one, it was this third shot right here in the arm that shattered, exploded his arm, shattered his arm, and caused them to amputate his arm. If the state said that in opening statement, it's simply not true that it was Mr. Sandy's third shot that shattered Mr. Boyd's arm, is it?
That's correct.
Mr. Sandy's second shot did not miss Mr. Boyd, or just barely graze his clothes, as stated in the opening statement, did it?
No, it did not.
And his third shot was not the one that caused the devastating blow to Mr. Boyd's right arm.
Correct.
And you're not aware of anybody else in this case who's going to testify that Mr. Sandy's second shot missed, or that his third shot was the one that delivered the catastrophic blow to Mr. Boyd's right arm, are you?
I'm not.
Now, the state had access to all of your conclusions prior to the trial in this case, didn't it?
Yes, sir.
You weren't holding anything back from the state about how you intended to testify.
No, sir.
And in fact, in this particular instance at least, this is one opinion that has not changed at all from your initial conclusions and your prior testimony, right?
That the second bullet shattered the arm. That is, yes, I've always indicated that. Yes, sir.
And yet you agree that the description made in the state's opening statement completely mischaracterizes what you had told the state your conclusions were regarding the order of the shots, doesn't it?
Yes, it's not accurate.
And knowing the order in which the shots hit Mr. Boyd is vitally important in assessing his position at various times, isn't it?
Yes, it helps position Mr. Boyd as in his turn, certainly.
Does it cause you concern that the state so misrepresented what your opinions would be in this matter?
Excuse me, Your Honor, objection, arithmetically misleading.
This is staying as
Now, we've already discussed that in reaching your opinions in this case, one of the items of evidence that you considered was a video of the shooting. And you also watched that video in slow motion, correct?
Correct.
And in watching this video in slow motion, you came to the conclusion that Mr. Boyd was actually in the middle of a step at the time he was struck, didn't you?
The middle of taking a step?
Yes.
Yes, his left leg comes across, and that you could call that a step, yes.
And in fact, you'd agree, by watching the video in slow motion, that you can observe Mr. Boyd's right foot leave the ground and start moving, wouldn't you?
Yes, as he's making that turn.
Are you aware that the state's police procedures expert testified that the video does not portray Mr. Boyd taking a step or raising his foot from the ground?
Excuse me, Your Honor, objection, improper hypothetical and misleading.
Could you repeat?
Yes. Are you aware that the state's police procedures expert testified that the video does not portray Mr. Boyd taking a step or raising his right foot from the ground?
I'm not aware of his testimony.
You would agree with me, though, that if the state's police procedures expert said that he's simply wrong about that, wouldn't you?
Excuse me, Your Honor, objection, improper impeachment, misleading.
Your testimony is that by watching the video, you can see Mr. Boyd taking a step and raising his right foot above the ground, correct?
Same objection.
Yes.
Now, one of the things that you relied on, I believe you told us, in reaching your conclusions in this case, was an observation of Mr. Boyd's clothing, correct?
Yes.
And you were able to physically observe those clothes only briefly.
Correct.
In fact, I believe you've classified your observation of the clothes as a cursory examination, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you didn't have the opportunity to take the clothes back to your lab to analyze them.
No, sir.
But in order to give a thorough and complete exam of these clothes, to give the opinions that you're giving today, you would have rather done a more thorough exam of the clothes than you were able to initially, correct?
Absolutely.
It would have given you more confidence in your opinion?
Certainly, if I would have had the time to line up all these holes and reconstruct the torn parts and the missing and the cut off sleeves, absolutely.
And yet I believe you testified earlier that you didn't request to be able to come out and look at the clothes again after you discovered the errors in your initial analysis, correct?
Correct. At that time, I viewed the photographs and realized my error.
Now, when you did your cursory examination of the clothing, you first tried to put the clothes back together as you think they might have been prior to them being cut off, correct?
Correct.
And you first stretched out each item of clothing and laid them out flat, one item at a time, right?
I did.
And that's as depicted in States Exhibits 57R, 57S, and 57T, correct?
Yes, sir.
So my understanding is that you stretched them out flat on the ground, or on the surface that you were looking at, correct?
Well, yes, lay them out and line up all the paramedic type cuts.
Of course, stretched out flat isn't really how the clothes were worn by Mr. Boyd, correct?
Correct.
And then we discussed how for the next part of your cursory exam, you placed the clothing on some unlucky subject from the prosecutor's office, didn't you?
I did.
And that person was wearing a hazmat suit at the time?
Tyvek suit.
What's the difference between Tyvek and hazmat? Can you describe for the jury what a Tyvek suit is?
A Tyvek is an overall type suit you can buy at Lowe's that will keep most things off of your body. A hazmat suit is levels above that as far as preventing chemicals, gases, etc.
Now, Mr. Boyd, of course, wasn't wearing a Tyvek suit at the time.
No.
And you placed the clothing on this person from the prosecutor's office one layer at a time, right?
Yes, sir.
So that essentially you placed one item of clothing on the person, do an observation, remove that layer, and then put a new layer on, correct?
I believe we did it that way, yes, sir.
But Mr. Boyd was wearing 5 layers of clothing at the time he was shot, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
And isn't the way that clothes ride and sit on the body affected by how many different layers someone is wearing?
Of course, yes.
So this really wasn't a precise exercise, was it?
No, given time, we would have went for all 5 layers and then really got into trying to line up holes.
But you didn't do that in this case.
We could not. I did not.
And then for the next part of your cursory exam, you took a rod and placed it by a hole in the clothing in order to approximate the trajectory of the bullet entry, right?
Yes, the lineup of the wounds that I was aware of from the autopsy, yes.
And that's as depicted, for instance, in States Exhibit 57Y?
Yes, that's based on autopsy trajectory.
Now, you have watched the videotape of this.
Yes.
You agree with me that the person depicted in this photo is standing almost completely upright, while Mr. Boyd was bent over considerably at the time he was struck in that location.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So again, this wasn't really a precise exercise, was it?
No, sir. That, as I mentioned, this is an approximation of the entry and the path of the bullet through Mr. Boyd.
An approximation in which he's not standing in anywhere near the same angle as when the bullet entered, correct?
Correct, and it's on the outside of his clothing where it actually should be through his body.
Incidentally, you also didn't do any chemical testing of each site on the clothing that you've identified as a bullet entry site, did you?
No, sir, that was not on the agenda.
But that would have made it possible to confirm that any defect in the clothing that you're studying was actually caused by a bullet as opposed to a cactus or anything else in that environment where Mr. Boyd was staying, wouldn't it?
It can, especially the primary impact site, certainly.
And such testing is possible to do scientifically, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
I want to turn for a minute to your opinion on Mr. Sandy's first shot.
Yes, sir.
And you state that Mr. Sandy's first shot ultimately caused a wound in the front, Mr. Boyd's left bicep, exiting out the back of his left bicep, correct?
Yes, sir. It's the perforating left bicep shot.
But you state that the first shot caused a wound to Mr. Boyd's chest prior to being hit in the front of his left bicep?
I did it a prior hearing.
Oh, well, are you
Well,
changing that opinion today?
I think, either interrupted or I didn't finish in this hearing.
Well, had you not been interrupted, would you have testified similarly to your prior testimony that Mr. Boyd sustained a wound to his chest prior to the time the bullet entered the front of his left bicep? Or are you changing that from your prior testimony?
No, but it's way over here. It's not where you're depicting. I'm sorry. It's physically on the left, far left chest.
Okay, so it's further, it's not in the middle of the chest,
No,
it's on the
no,
left, but
no.
you're still testifying that Mr. Boyd sustained a wound to his chest prior to the time it hit his left bicep, correct?
Correct.
And that's based on the clothing you say you didn't have a sufficient time to review?
It's based on, some of it based on the clothing, yes.
Is it based on the autopsy report?
Yes.
That's interesting. You reviewed the whole autopsy report, including the diagram of wounds that Mr. Boyd received, as was prepared by the Office of the Medical Examiner, did you not?
Yes, and also reviewed the medical intervention that had taken place.
And do you recall seeing anywhere on that diagram of wounds that was created by the Office of the Medical Examiner a wound to Mr. Boyd's chest?
Not in that area, no.
In fact, you specifically recall not seeing one noted on that, correct?
I believe that's correct, yes, sir.
And in fact, the Office of the Medical Examiner's report itself doesn't describe a wound to Mr. Boyd's chest at all, does it?
Not in that area, no, sir.
And you didn't see any hospital records that indicate a laceration from a bullet strike to the chest, did you?
No, they describe all the medical intervention that took place.
You're not aware of anyone else in this case who claims that Mr. Boyd received a wound to his chest from Mr. Sandy's first shot or any other shot, are you?
I'm not aware.
Okay. So it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're the one who decided that any impact to Mr. Boyd's chest must have been done from a gunshot rather than from some procedure at the hospital?
Yes, the indicators are that this is a part of the continuing wound of the left arm.
Despite the fact that such a wound was not mentioned either by the OMI or in any hospital records?
Correct.
You don't have any medical training, do you?
Not in anything, not at the level of a pathologist or a doctor, no.
Neither of whom noted that.
Correct.
I want to talk a little bit about your scene reenactment. We talked about how you came out to Albuquerque last year to do a site visit
Yes, sir.
because you thought it was important to observe the actual scene of the incident, view the terrain, get an understanding of the conditions that the people were dealing with out there before rendering an opinion in this case, right?
Yes, it's a three-dimensional surface, and there's angles involved of sight.
Sure. And you just called the prosecutor to set up the visit, right?
I suggested, and they agreed.
And of course, they were happy to cooperate with you to arrange for a visit for you, right?
They arranged a visit
Sure.
for me, yes.
And you were able to work with them and to use a review of the video and information in the report written by Detective Jeff Stone, to get an idea of the location of the events at the scene, right?
Certainly.
Nothing and nobody impeded your ability to make this site visit or to view exactly where the events took place, did they?
No?
And you wouldn't have felt comfortable rendering an opinion without having made such a site visit, would you?
It would have been more difficult, certainly.
And you would have been less confident in your opinion, I take it.
Certainly.
I'd like to show you what's been admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit 57G. Now, that represents the location in which you placed Mr. Boyd at the scene, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, based on your visit to the scene and what was captured in this photograph, you would agree with me, wouldn't you, that Mr. Boyd had room to get down and lie down directly in front of him, wouldn't you?
When you say directly in front, the direction he's facing?
Yes.
That would appear, yes, that you could, it would be more moving towards his right.
And similarly, if he were rotated a little bit to his left, you would agree again that he could lie straight down directly in front of him, wouldn't you? Where that, you see that little piece of paper that's on the ground there?
Oh, yes, that far to his left.
So he could
Or,
also-
to his right.
To his right. He could also lie down directly in front there, couldn't he?
Correct.
Down the slope?
Okay. So any statement that he didn't have the ability to lie down directly in front of him wouldn't comport with your observation at the scene, would it?
I'm sorry, I report that Mr. Boyd couldn't have laid down?
Yes. That wouldn't comport with your observation at the scene regarding the terrain
Well, he,
as you placed it.
Objection on 401 and 403.
certainly from that photograph and that location, you could lay down on the ground. You could even lay down on top of those rocks, I assume, if you wanted.
And this location is one where it's to your best estimate of where Mr. Boyd was at the time he was shot, correct?
Yes.
And we've already discussed how you relied in part on the video captured by Officer Perez's helmet camera for your analysis.
Correct.
Certainly, you relied on it to place the various parties to the incident for your reenactment,
Correct.
and also to sequence the events,
Yes.
and also to help create your estimated bullet trajectories, right?
Certainly.
Now, you'd agree with me that the camera used by Officer Perez was mounted to the right side of his helmet, approximately 20 degrees above and to the right of the bridge of his nose.
I believe that's correct. Yes, sir.
And as such, it captures a different perspective than Officer Perez's direct view would.
It does. Yes, sir.
Now, in setting up your laser tripod, you selected the location based on an assumption of where Officer Perez was standing when he fired, correct?
Based on, yes, the video of the rock formations and then where he moves forward and that rock formation.
But you would agree that it can't be determined exactly where Officer Perez was standing when he fired, wouldn't you?
Correct. That's why I use the term approximation for the tripods and for the height.
And the video doesn't show his feet or where he was standing.
Correct.
In fact, you're only able to approximate where Officer Perez was standing within a zone of a couple of feet or so, aren't you?
Correct.
But the tripod could have been set up to the left or the right of where Officer Perez was actually standing when he shot. You're just not sure.
Correct. Again, it's in an approximate area.
And you would agree that the video also doesn't show Officer Perez's shooting stance, such as whether he was standing up ramrod straight or with his knees slightly bent, or where on his shoulder his weapon was placed, as we discussed before, right?
Correct. Again, it's an approximation.
And yet you felt comfortable setting up a laser to represent where a rifle would be if held by each of the defendants based on essentially how you thought it might be or how you held the rifle, correct? Like the imaginary rifle.
Well, certainly, it's an approximation of the position that the officer was standing at, and then aiming the laser on the center mass of our stand-in.
But you'd agree that the height of the person holding the long gun isn't the only variable that affects the height and angle at which the weapon is pointed, don't you?
Correct.
For instance, as we talked about before, you need to know whether the shooter was bending his knees.
Yes, sir. The whole stance, how much you bend your knees, how much you hunch your shoulder. Again, it's based on an approximation because those things vary.
You'd need to know whether they're in an isosceles stance or a weaver stance or a modified weaver stance to know exactly how it's aimed.
Yes, you'd have to have a photograph from the side at the instant that he fired to approximate it better.
Including how far back the buttstock was adjusted.
I'm not sure how much that would vary the vertical, but would vary the horizontal.
As we discussed, there are any number of variables that could affect the height and angle of the rifle, correct?
Certainly.
And you didn't know any of those variables in this case, did you?
No, sir. I was using what was available on the video. I mean, he wasn't sitting or kneeling or crawling. He wasn't holding it at his hip. So I could narrow down some of those variables.
Again, it's an approximation.
Yes.
I believe you testified earlier that based on your measurements or your projections, that you had thought Officer Perez was approximately 29 feet from Mr. Boyd at the time he shot, right?
Yes.
And you set up your laser tripod approximately that far away from your stand-in actor for Mr. Boyd from the prosecutor's office, right?
Correct.
Now, would you agree with me that using just simple basic trigonometry, I'm sure there's some grimaces over here, it's bringing back some bad memories, but simple basic trigonometry, you can calculate the effect of adjusting the placement of the tripod on where the laser ultimately ends up, knowing the angle and the distance, correct?
I'm not sure if I followed the question.
Well, essentially from 29 feet away, very small adjustments to where the tripod is placed, whether up or down or left or right, can have a fairly significant impact on where the projection ultimately ends up, can it?
Well, the laser was capable of swiveling and moving up and down so that it could be aimed at the center mass of our stand-in.
Sure, but you testified before that where you place the laser, the height at which you place the laser, and the left or right distance at which you place the laser was simply an approximation.
Correct.
And do you have any reason to dispute that from 29 feet away, an adjustment of just 1/2 of a degree, almost imperceptible, can result in a movement of the laser dot of 3 inches on the target?
Oh, I don't doubt that. That's why we aimed the laser at center mass.
You aimed it from an approximated location,
Correct.
even though an adjustment of a little bit more, 2 degrees for instance, would result in a full 12-inch difference in terms of where the laser would hit, right?
If you didn't compensate and move the laser back to center mass, yes.
So if you don't know the precise parameters of how Officer Perez's rifle was aimed, including his location, his shooting stance, all those other variables we talked about, and you agree that small adjustments can make a difference downrange, then how can you contend that the setup has any precision?
Well, it's consistent with the video of that location and the bullet path and Mr. Boyd's physical location and back.
Well, didn't we just see that your recreation photograph was not consistent with the video as far as the placement of the actor from the prosecutor's office?
Well, and correct. As far as leaning over in a falling position, yes.
Now, we talked before about you don't know what Detective Sandy saw at the time he decided to fire, do you?
Well, I only know what's in his interview.
But because of your lack of familiarity with optics, for instance, you don't know either what he saw or what Officer Paris saw at the time they decided to fire.
I only have the description of what they saw.
And you don't know what position Mr. Boyd was in at the time that either officer made the decision to fire, do you?
Made the decision? No, sir.
All you can testify to is the alleged position of Mr. Boyd at the time that he was struck, right?
Correct.
To be clear, you didn't purport to determine Mr. Boyd's position prior to the time the decision to fire was made, aim was taken, and the firing process was completed. Only at the time of impact, correct?
Okay. Could you repeat it again?
Sure, of course. You didn't purport to determine Mr. Boyd's position prior to the time the decision to fire was made, aim was taken and acquired, and the trigger was pulled. Only his position upon impact of that bullet, right?
Correct, in the creation of the wounds.
Right.
Yes.
And you acknowledge that there could be a pretty significantly different position at the time he was struck than at the time a decision to fire was made and the physical activity of firing began, correct?
Certainly, Mr. Boyd is in motion.
Right. And you also didn't measure the time between when the firing process began and when impact was made, did you?
The time lapse between how long it would take the sound to reach versus the bullet?
Not the sound versus the bullet. The time between beginning the physical act of firing and the actual impact of the bullet on Mr. Boyd. Or did you just assume that they were simultaneous, essentially?
The pulling of the trigger?
Yes, and the entire physical process that's going on.
No, I'm just looking at when the bullet actually impacts Mr. Boyd.
Right. So, for instance, you didn't account for lock time.
No, none of the prep time in preparing to fire.
Even after the trigger's pulled. Incidentally, do you know the definition of lock time as it relates to firing rifles?
No, sir, I don't.
And I take it you don't know the definition of dwell time either as it relates to the physical process?
No, sir.
So then you couldn't have taken them into account in your calculations?
Correct. I didn't take any of the pre-shooting time into account.
Well, again, this isn't even necessarily pre-shooting time, which I understand you didn't take into account. This is time that takes after the physical act of shooting has begun. You also didn't take into account.
I may be confused that when you say physical shooting, that was the firing of the bullet?
Correct. The depression of the trigger and the processes that follow the depression of the trigger.
The mechanics of the weapon?
Correct. You'd acknowledge that there's some amount of time that's taken for these physical processes to happen, even if that amount of time is quite rapid.
Excuse me, Your Honor, no scope beyond this.
Certainly, it's a mechanical action. Moving of the trigger causes other components in the firing pin to strike, so there is some very short time involved in that, certainly.
And you also didn't measure the speed of Mr. Boyd's rotation, did you?
Speed as in degrees per second, or
Yeah, essentially, if Mr. Boyd is rotating at the time that this process is going on, wouldn't you need to know how quickly he's rotating in order to be able to determine where he was at the time a shot was fired versus where he was at the time the shot of impact?
because of the distance and the speed of the bullet, that's really almost immediate.
So you essentially
at
assume
that
that
distance, right? I mean, at 12 feet, how long does it take a bullet to travel 12 feet?
I don't know. I didn't look
Very,
into it.
very. I mean, at 3,000 feet per second, and you're going 12 feet. It's a very, very small fraction of a second.
But again, you don't know how fast Mr. Boyd was turning either. You didn't-
In that same small fraction of a second, I do not.
So, are you purporting to testify about the position that Mr. Boyd was in at the time each shot was fired, or only at the time of impact?
Impact.
So, as I understand what you did with your reenactment, you took evidence from autopsy photos
Yes, sir.
and the autopsy report of where the wounds were.
Correct.
You set up tripods to represent where you think Mr. Sandy and Mr. Perez were at the time that they fired. And then you arranged for an actor from the prosecutor's office to approximate where Mr. Boyd was lined up so that you could see whether the laser could account for a particular wound. Is that right?
Correct. Because and eliminate whose laser could not have produced that wound.
And based on the way you set things up, and based on your understanding of the wounds, and what you believe to be the sequence of shots, you again just tried to capture whether the shots could have come from a particular individual.
Correct.
And prior to setting up this reenactment, you'd already formed an opinion on the likely sequence of shots causing the various wounds, hadn't you?
Well, there was, I mean, the sequence of shots is recorded on the video, and there's really only one, and that's the second shot of Sandy that shows the impact of the bullet to the right arm in the video. The rest is, yes, angles and rotation of Mr. Boyd that could Officer Perez have shot the right arm, the left arm from his position at the time when he actually does fire. And of course the answer is no, because of the rotation of Mr. Boyd.
But coming into this reconstruction, you had essentially already formed the opinions of which shots caused which wounds, correct?
For the most part, and this was to also eliminate Officer Sandy from inflicting the shot to the back, to eliminate that possibility.
And nothing you did in this reenactment changed any of the opinions you already had when you came in to stage the reenactment, did it?
I'm sorry, changed opinion of what?
Nothing you did in this reenactment that you put together did anything to change any of the opinions you already had when you came in to stage the reenactment.
It certainly clarified and verified things that could not have happened. For instance, again, Officer Perez inflicting either the arm shots and or Officer Sandy inflicting the back shot.
Well, isn't what you ultimately did at the scene with your tripods and the lasers and somebody standing in for Mr. Boyd, approximating some of his movements and approximating the location of the officers, simply a reenactment of what you already concluded happened, as opposed to a true reconstruction done for the purposes of figuring out what happened?
No, it was the reconstruction because, again, on the video you can only see so much, but when you're there in a three-dimensional aspect with the people in position and the body rotating, you can see that the first shot of Officer Sandy has to be the shot that hits the left arm, because at the time of the second shot, the left arm is no longer in his line of fire. And so those things were clarified by being on the scene and having live people, or at least a live stand from Mr. Boyd rotating, and we have approximate line of sight into his body to say that, yes, the first shot hits the left arm, and it can't be the third shot because he's rotated too far. And by the same token, again, Officer Perez can inflict the right arm or left arm shots by the time he fires.
But given the lack of precision in how things were set up and the approximation, isn't this more like staging a movie shoot or one of those reenactments like they do on Dateline of a crime, rather than an experiment to try to determine exactly how the events unfolded?
No, I would say it's an experiment because, again, now we're looking at the video and he gives us one perspective. But when you set up 3 different components, now you can go over to the position of Officer Sandy and look at his line of sight, whereas you can't from the video.
Do you normally do experiments with such a lack of precision and lack of controls?
Well, again, the lack of controls are, this is a human being holding a rifle. There's only a certain range that that rifle can be in, and we approximated that position, knowing that the aim is more important than whether the laser was an inch higher off the ground or not.
And you approximated the way the clothing would be worn.
On Mr. Boyd at this reenactment?
Right. As part of your investigation of the clothing, you approximated the way it might sit on him.
Yes, it was put on in a normal fashion, correct.
So at each stage of your reconstruction or your observations, you were doing nothing more than approximating any of these variables, correct?
Yes, narrowed down. Obviously, the shirt wasn't put on, really obviously crooked, so made an assumption that it was put on correctly.
Okay. Moment to confer, Your Honor. Just one last question. Do you purport to be a scientist performing a scientific experiment that comports with the same type of rigor we would normally expect to see in a scientific experiment whose results are used in court?
No, there's too many variables.
No further questions, Your Honor. Pass the witness.
We'll have a lunch recess now. I'll ask the jury to return to the first floor jury assembly room.